Find yourself a booth, order up a cold one. This is the Spring Bar.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Spring Bar. Glad to have you here. I am Florida Mike, today with my co-host Casey and Domesticated Joe.
That would be me.
Gentlemen,
you hear
how's
the
it going
leather
today?
snapping on the mic?
And Joe can't be bothered to record a podcast as he is currently folding his laundry.
I am multitasking. Thank you very much.
If you're listening to this, you need to head over to YouTube and you can see his tidy whities in person, live and in person.
Not so white.
Not so,
Yeah.
white.
The brownie whiteys.
Ooh. Too close to home. Too close to home. How we doing?
Doing pretty good.
Fantastic.
Yeah, they're doing pretty good considering I worked 6 days this week.
Ugh.
Oh yeah, brother.
Yeah,
Unfortunate.
it's rough. Moving expenses soon.
True.
So-
all those things. It's been cold and wet. Snowed. It snowed in LA.
Didn't you guys get some kind of winter storm through there?
Snow. It snowed at the Hollywood sign. They've closed down some freeways. It's
Really?
been a thing, man. It's been a thing.
So what's the temperature outside your window right now?
I don't know. 50 something.
Oh,
I have to
that's
wear
not
socks.
horrible.
It's rough.
The socks.
Yeah. Socks. It's
Socks
But-
with your sandals? Are you one of those weird aging hipsters?
yeah.
Hell yeah.
Birkenstocks.
That's bad.
Well, I'm old. What are you gonna do?
Any
That's
other
all.
storms by you, Casey?
I mean, I got snow over here. What? No,
No.
definitely not. Definitely not. I think it did snow, or not really snow, but frozen rained on us 2 days ago.
So as
What?
I'm looking at myself here, I've chosen the wrong shirt color. I
You're a
blend
little-
in really well to the walls around me.
You're a
here.
little washed out there, Mike.
Yeah, I see that. It's all. I don't have anything else within reach, nor do I think you want to watch me change.
I got a couple t-shirts right
You
here.
got
You can
something?
borrow.
You can-
Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
just-
We'll send you some.
Just folding me stuff. Oh goodness! All right, so wrist checks. What do we got?
Well, I think we should start with Joe's, which is one of my favorite watches of his.
All right.
What are you wearing? What are you wearing?
I got on the Dress Devil Carabelle
Oh yeah.
666. Beautiful case. Got it on this
Yeah.
new to me, vintage bond clip style bracelet. Still trying to find the right bracelet for this sucker. You know,
That's a hard one.
it is. It's nothing. There's something that really kind of works, and the lugs are a weird shape. It's a 19 millimeter, but it's tapered more up towards the top. So like up at the top of the case, it's more of a 22. And it tapers down to a 19. It's
Really?
like it's gonna be a mess.
So the lug starts at 22 but tapers to 19?
Yeah, it's nuts. And it's also got a little bit of a twist to it as well.
I was
So-
going to make a suggestion, but never mind. That just threw that out the window.
Yeah, it's almost like I'd have to go with either like a fitted leather, or I'm gonna have to shave down some.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, those lugs, the profile of the lugs, aside from that weird skewed measurement, is similar to that of the Speedmaster. So I was going to say, what about one of those fitted end rubber straps that they use on those?
Maybe somebody suggested the horned end Forstner comfort.
Mhm.
That might work as well. Like if I could get an 18, and that might fill in some of the negative space. I don't know. It's
Well,
it's a work
you-
in progress.
You know who's getting an 18 millimeter comfort?
I do.
It's somewhere between Japan and here. Tracking has not been updated in several days, so I hope
Oh.
it's still on the way.
And I got a little truly fruit punch going on today.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I've got something in a slim can too, but I'll go last. Casey, what do you got?
Oh yeah. Me. I
yeah.
went
Watch
in-
podcast, wrist
Yeah,
checks.
yep.
People,
and
people watch it.
10 minutes of research prior, but
Yeah.
I'm rocking the Oyster Date
Mhm.
in 14K.
So you got
And-
a Rolex buckle on that, I saw.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, so weird story-ish. This is something that eBay's authentication flagged when I bought the watch. They're like, hey, this buckle's fake. We can't send you the watch. But if the watch itself is legit, so if you want to proceed with this transaction, just know that we cannot send you anything that we suspect is fake, so you're not going to receive the buckle. So I'm wearing the Rolex in honor of one of the topics we're going to discuss today, because it's the age-old Rolex versus Omega, and there's a chance that I have to take away the gold that I really wanted to give Omega and hand it back to Rolex later in the episode. But in the can, I'm trying out something god awful by Blue Moon. They came out with an IPA. It's horrible. So, Mike, what do you got?
So I am wearing my my Accutron 2 snorkel, my snorkel 2 on thick mesh. This is not the Bulva factory mesh, because anybody who's ever tried to wear the Bulva factory mesh knows that it has a horrible clasp system. So promptly changed that out for
so
something
stiff too. It's really stiff.
Yeah, it's stiff, and the weird links that they put for the butterfly clasp, and it never fits right, and it's horrible. Do yourself a favor. If you have one, you're going to buy one, buy a new mesh strap. And I'm also drinking something out of a slim can. This is Smirnoff Ice Pineapple Lemonade. This came in a variety pack of different flavors. This is what's left. Bought these when I was on vacation last week, and I still have a couple here. So at least I got.
Where did you go?
Bahamas.
Bahamas. You know, February in the Bahamas.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, that's pretty cool.
I'd do it.
You're relatively close, so the travel time must not have been too rough to get there.
Well, he's in a rowboat.
Yeah. No, I was on a cruise, on a 4-day cruise. Made a couple of different islands, and then made our way back.
Yeah, I think I saw there was a sunken cannon, some sort of ship, and I think
so one of the islands. So the first island we went to was actually on a coral reef, which was really cool. There's a lot of variety of fish down there. The second island we went to, it was a stormy day. The sun wasn't shining so much through the water. It was kind of murky. Not a whole lot of variety of fish, but they did have, and it wasn't sunken there. It was brought into that island, but it was 2 pieces of a sunken ship. One was the side of it had 4 or 5 cannons, and then the bow of the ship was in a different location. So that was still pretty cool to go and explore.
And you were all doing that with your Dan Henry too, right?
And I had the Dan Henry on. Yeah.
That's what it was. That's right.
Yeah.
I was
cool
saying snorkel.
That'd be me. And it wouldn't get wet.
Well, when I went to Puerto Rico, I had my snorkel on. This one.
That's what I was probably thinking.
Yeah. So I try to change it up.
That's fair.
Yo, all right.
All right. So
New watch alerts.
There we go.
All right.
Who's first? You first?
Yes.
Go first.
Hell yes. Because I'm be dropping a video on behalf of the Spring Bar podcast here in a couple of days. A review of the new Lunar Pilot. I've got the we still don't have a nickname for it yet, but the blue and the silver dial variant, super cool.
I mean, if we're being honest, it's the silver Snoopy.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
You know, nobody wants to call it that because Omega has already taken that name, but that's what it's kind of emulating.
Yeah, and it fits really well. I mean, maybe if you were to try to work in Time Goddess, maybe because, old Bulova.
Right.
But I don't know.
Is that the only one you got in this time? That's what's new?
Oh, well, shit. I mean, yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, what do you got that's new?
I've got the We've got
Not- hold on.
I've got
No,
a
no,
couple
no.
of things here.
New, Joe, not things we've discussed that you've had repaired. Actually, new.
No, new. I got
Okay.
I got a couple things that are kind of new. We start off here.
So what does he pull out? A watch that we've talked about.
Yeah, but we haven't seen it, right?
Yeah.
Here it's done. This is the Cerakoted 666.
Partially
that,
Cerakoted.
well, mostly.
Gotcha on a technicality. How's
Mostly.
that holding up?
Really well, actually, really well. I like it. I like it a lot. I'll talk about this more when we get to our last call. There's another watch I can't show you because it's winging its way to Mike, and that is a set of goldish cased dress 666 watches. Mike's got one that's like new old stock. I've got these ones came out from Canada. There's 4 of them. I just need to get one working. So if you're interested, drop me a line. There will be some available in the near future.
Yeah, but for those that aren't familiar with it, I mean, everybody has seen me post this. It's the gold silver dial. It's the what is it? It's the Bulova Setomatic Dual Day Oceanographer 666.
666 in a
Which is a
gold
mouthful.
case. Yeah,
But
it's
the gold case. Which now, as we figured out, and the ones that you bought because they came from Canada, yours, correct?
Right. They're all
And-
Canadian sourced.
When I bought mine, I went back to previous owners and it came from Canada as well. So this has to be a Canada model.
It seems to be a Canadian market watch. There's almost no information on it. I haven't seen a single thing. You don't see them that often either. So it's a relatively rare.
But for you to
rare
come
watch.
across a lot of 4, that was pretty good.
Yeah. I was really, really satisfied with that. So those are going to Mike. We're going to see if we can get a couple working coming out of that, and then available soon at a Spring Bar podcast near you. I don't know.
What was your name for your watch sales outlet? Joe's
Joe's
shop?
Joe's Flipperama.
Flipperama. There you go. Coming to Joe's Flipperama.
Your for sale is my retail. And also, last but not least, the black dial version of the Lunar Pilot on the bracelet.
Vintage modded.
I'm considering it. I really am. But it's a really solid watch. Like for me, the bracelet works really, really well. I like it. I like the structure. So that's what I got. Mike, what do you got?
I have also a Bulova box. And any guesses what's inside the Bulova box? Anybody? It's also the new Lunar Pilot.
Look at that.
Would you look at that? In the same colorway that KC has, this is the blue. And so here's the thing. Looks white, doesn't it? It's not white, it's silver.
Yeah, man, it's really good.
I've only seen the pictures. I haven't seen one in person. I know there's a guy out here who's got one, and I haven't had the chance to hook up with him to compare.
Yeah, so it's cool though. It's one of those watches where the light plays tricks with you. It looks black and white. You get it in sunlight, this thing really pops. The blue really shines. You can really get that silvery tone in the dial. It's pretty good. I will say that. But well, actually, why don't we just get into it now?
Why don't we get into it right now since we all got
I don't have any other new watch alerts. Yeah. So
What are we gonna talk about?
what are we going to talk about? We're talking about the new Lunar Pilot.
Well, I mean, like what specific about it? Like, hey, you know what? I'll play off what you guys got. Just run it.
So this is not new to anybody because we've been pushing this thing. Bulova has been pushing it. You've seen all the reviews and the retail shops have been talking about it. But it's the 43.5 millimeter, the new smaller size Lunar Pilot. They did the full polished case. Well, not actually the full polished case. It's a polished and brushed case. We'll get into that in a second.
Same thing on the bracelet too.
Same thing on the bracelet. Yeah. So it has the original black dial and then it has this new colorway. Both are no date, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't care if you like the date, you can deal with it. Buy the bigger one.
Harkens back to the original and all the things that go
don't
with
buy
it.
the bigger one. Don't buy it.
So the question that sort of shows up, and it's the question between the original versus the new smaller one. And so Mike, you've got both. What's your take?
There are some differences. And if you don't have the original to compare it side by side, you would never notice it, because I had to put them next to each other and be like, oh wow, I didn't even notice that. Oh, look at that, that's different. So when you take off the bracelet, which is a great bracelet, I really do enjoy it. They did a great job designing the bracelet. Solid end links, quick release, solid end links, half links, so that's a plus. But when you pull it out, the space between the lugs is milled differently on this watch than it is on the original. But like I was saying, it's not a full polished case. So the original 45 that I have, the polished no date, is a true full polished case. However, the new one, the what do you want to call it? The collar, the bezel area, that's actually brushed.
It's also got some milling on the inside too. So
yeah,
it's
it
not like you
breaks
can
it up a
swap
little
anything
bit.
out.
So I like how they did that. The pusher sizes are a little bit smaller. Obviously, your lug to lug is a little smaller. The dial, tachymeter, chapter ring, all of that is exactly the same size. So they shrunk the case.
And the proportions of the case, which is
and
really
then-
important.
Yeah.
Because it's the lug to lug more than anything else.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. And it's when you look at them side by side, and here we'll put up a picture here because I actually have them both in hand. You can't tell the difference. It's not small enough for it to be noticeable, if that makes sense. But when you put it on the wrist, the first thing I noticed is the wrist presence is definitely smaller.
Yeah.
And it works.
I would agree.
And I enjoy my other one, the larger one. I have no problem with it. It fits me fine. I wear it. I'm used to the large size. I've got no problem. But I really enjoy wearing this one that much more.
I brought this to a meetup last week, and everybody took a look at it and like, oh yeah, I get it. And anybody who put it on, looking at it from a wrist presence standpoint, and that was always the turnoff for the first editions of the Lunar Pilot. It was the size, and it's not so much the width, but it was the lug to lug. There was some overhang. It didn't wear really comfortably, and that's mostly the reviews. People would say, okay, I bought it, I liked it, it's a great watch. It just didn't fit really well because of the way that the lugs were shaped and everything else. What this one seems to sit so much nicer, so much better. A little the slimming down just on the lug standpoint, it works really well.
So you're a tough cookie to crack. What are your overall? Let's just make it easy. Is it a yay or a nay from you? Is this one that you will keep and enjoy in your collection?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm hanging on to this for a long time. It's great. Okay. It's a great watch. The polish is the case is fantastically done. The bracelet is comfortable. It's really legible. It reads well. Feels good. Yeah, it's a keeper. So the only reason I might get rid of it, might get rid of it, be if they come out with a mechanical.
Yeah. I can see that.
Right? That would be it. That'd be the only reason.
KC has had one before. He's had the original as well. But is this your first time experiencing the precisionist chronograph movement? Because you don't have one of these movements, right? You don't have a watch that has this movement.
I had the Wilton. I've had this movement before, but it was huge. It was huge. It was really tall, and I got rid of it because it was too big. I didn't wear it enough. So I mean, I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable with the movement. I don't have an issue with the movement at all. Okay,
I didn't realize you had one.
Yeah, I had a Wilton chronograph a couple of years ago, and it was the first generation precisionist chronographs. So it had there was the sweeping center seconds, and then it would tick when you hit the chronograph, and so it was a really interesting watch. The reset was always fun because it did the same thing. Like the reset on this one, as soon as you stop it, it goes all the way back around to 12 and then freezes. It's a really cool movement. And I would love to see Bulova do a lot more with this movements like it.
Well, they're working on the precisionist stuff, so maybe this will go into other things. It would be cool because it really is. It's a fantastic movement. You say mechanical movement, and that would be really cool. And there's a lot of people that are talking about that and pushing for it. the price is going to be up there.
Yeah, it would be.
It's going
It
to be up
certainly would
there.
be.
So when you think about it, this quartz, it's a phenomenal package.
Oh, I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I think that it works. It works really well. Now, the only issue, and I think that we can talk about this a little bit. Let's talk about the bracelet. And let's talk about the bracelet fit, because like Mike, you like the bracelet. I like the bracelet. Casey, you have an issue with the bracelet. What's your issue?
Yeah. Well, so I think I've got the narrowest wrist of all of us here. So I got a 6.5-inch wrist, and I had to remove all the links, and even then, it still slides around on my wrist. If my wrist expands during a hot day to 7 3/4, then the bracelet will stay just fine, but obviously it requires an expansion. But if it weren't for that sizing, it would be perfect. And you really can't please everybody. So they did provide this leather NATO, 2-piece NATO, so I can wear the watch still. It's just unfortunately not on the bracelet.
And I'm surprised with that NATO, because generally, and the bracelet proves this, Bulova will supply straps and bracelets for very large wristed people. Okay. In fact, I have it here. The strap that came on the parking meter is this brown leather. It's real nice, real soft, supple, the signed buckle. It's great, but it's too long. And when I put it on, and even for so I'm a 7 1/4, which is, I guess, a little larger than average. The tail of the strap comes all the way up and practically touches the lug of the watch.
Mm-hmm.
So the NATO that they gave with the Lunar Pilot is not real long. I can put it on. You don't have to fold over any of the extra tail. It sits just right. It actually has a floating keeper on the other end, so you can adjust it to where you need it to be. It's perfect. It's perfect. I was a little skeptical about it, but when I took it out, put it on the watch, wore it for a full day, let it break in, I love it.
I don't know what it is about that particular leather they used, but it's not bad, but I'm not sure if it is real leather. I don't know. I'm not like an expert, but it feels weird. It says genuine leather.
Does it say genuine leather? I haven't busted mine out. I don't even know what it says. I haven't looked at it.
It does say genuine leather.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be real leather, but it's probably a different grain of leather. Is all it is.
It doesn't feel like this legit Bulova Accutron leather here.
Well, that's the calfskin leather.
Yeah. Well, this is harvested from real Accutrons.
Real Accutrons.
Oh,
yeah. Real Accutrons were harmed to produce this.
Yeah.
So it's a definite yay for me. I really do like it. I like it.
It would probably be a nay for me if I'd gotten the black one.
Oh, you think so?
Just because this freaking dial is so amazing. Like, this is one of those watches that you kind of get lost in just looking at, because it's not that it necessarily changes every time you look, but there's like more and more little details, more and more light play that you haven't noticed.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
See, that's interesting, because like the depth that comes from the black, nothing about this bothers me. I like the contrast. I like the high contrast, but then you've also got the way that they've recessed the chronograph. They've recessed the minute track,
which does not come across in photos.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
Person.
Like the depth of the dial is really kind of impressive.
Yeah.
So I'm very satisfied with the black. Doesn't bother me at all. I still want to see the blue in person, but I'm satisfied.
So you mentioned patina mod.
Maybe.
Now that I have this new one, I feel like I can part with my old one for however long it would take to send it out and have that done. I think
there you go.
I think that one might happen.
There you go. So then we have to get that smattering of moon dust they can put on the inside too.
Yeah. All right. So thank you. And hold on, before we have to thank Bulova, because they sent these out for us to get hands on with them and see them and so as always, thank you to Bulova and everybody in the offices for sending us the watches.
Very much so. Very much so.
Yeah, definitely.
Support from the whole team.
Yeah.
All right. Now
Moving on. So we left it up to you, the viewer and the listener, to submit your ideas because you're probably tired of us talking about BS you don't want to hear about.
So we're going to talk
And
about
we got a
BS you
couple
do
of
want to hear
suggestions.
about.
Yeah, we didn't get many suggestions, but we did get some. But the one we decided on was what?
Well, we kind of got two topics that are going on here. We got the Grail watch and we got the Safe Queens.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Right. So let's get into that, and let's start with the Grail watch, and what would be the Grail watch, and then I've got a quibble with the term Grail watch. So let's get into it.
Yeah, so let's get into it.
Yeah, I have a quibble with it as well, and I don't know. I feel like Joe and I are very similar as far as our collecting mindsets go, so we might have a similar.
It'll be curious. So let's Casey, why don't you start us off? What is the Grail for you?
I don't really have one.
What's your definition of a Grail, though?
Let's start there.
So like 3 years ago, the Speedmaster was the Grail.
Uh-huh.
And that's because that's what all my dad talked about growing up. He's like, one day when I've made it, I'm going to buy a Speedmaster. So that's what I had in my back of my mind. It was like Team Omega the whole time. And then I put enough scratch together. I was in a good enough place where I could afford one, and I did. So I have my Grail watch. But I think the term Grail watch isn't something that anyone can define for you. I think a Grail watch can be any watch that you've set such a high standard for that it's like the pinnacle of your collection. This is what you're lusting after. So,
well, there's an interesting idea, and I've been reading some discussions about the concept of the Grail watch, and what one of the things that has come out is that the Grail watch is about the quest. It's always about the trying to get it, and it's about the quest, and then once you have achieved that, then there's another quest. You're not kind of done. And so one Grail watch may lead to another Grail watch, may lead to another Grail watch. And so it puts you into kind of this weird space, because there are things that are obtainable, but you just have to be willing to do the work to obtain them. And so there's another concept, though, that kind of goes into the same topic, and it's the idea of the exit watch. It's like, what watch would you get that would cap your collecting? And that would be like you could if you're gonna have, they would be the perfect one watch collection. So that's another.
So now we're talking about things that don't exist.
Well, do they? But do they?
So I'm going to come at this from a different angle. It seems like you and KC are kind of on the same page a little bit. A Grail watch to me is that one holy grail, the one watch that you just aspire to have, whether it's obtainable or not. It may be an unobtainium piece, but it's the one that every time you see it, you fall in love and you dream about, and you're always looking up pictures of or reading articles about. I think I'm of the mindset where there's only one Grail, with the caveat of a modern Grail or a vintage Grail. You can have one of each depending on how you collect. But I don't understand this whole, well, this is my Grail watch, and then you if you're able to obtain it, that's fantastic and that's good for you. But then it's like, well, that's okay, now I have it. Now it's not that special. Now I'm going to move into something else that's special.
Right.
It kind of defeats the purpose of a Grail watch.
It does.
That to me is a goal, and then you move on to the next goal, and then you move on to the next goal. So that kind of, takes the luster away of a Grail watch, where a Grail watch should be that one piece that one day you hope will end up in your watch box. And if it does, that's fantastic. Now that does move you into the space of, does that, if you are able to obtain it, does that become your end game watch?
Well,
because you've
achieved
maximum collectability at that point.
It's going to depend on the watch, right? So Casey, you've got the statement that you don't really have one, right? Mike, what do you got? Do you have one?
I have a hard time saying that I do, because I find that my grail tends to change a little bit. When it comes to vintage, I can very easily say that it's a toss up between that bull of a Royal Oak and the bull of a surfboard, because they're both extremely rare. They're both, you can get a Royal Oak, but you're paying a lot for it. The surfboards are very rare, very hard to come by, especially in something that's in decent condition.
Oh, you're talking about a legit vintage one, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
I was
chronograph,
just
the
gonna say,
chronograph
wait a
A.
second, I thought you owned one, but you're
He's
talking
got,
Yeah,
the,
no, no,
he's got the
the-
quartz reissue.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, the
Yeah.
actual, the real
Yeah.
original surfboard.
Okay, just to clarify.
When it comes to modern watches, I don't know that I necessarily have a grail. There's a lot of unobtainium watches that'd be like, wow, if I had endless money, if I won the lottery, that's what I would buy, kind of thing. But I can't exactly say that I have a grail modern watch, probably because I don't hunt modern watches as much as I do vintage watches.
That's fair. That's fair. See, I've got both. And so I have a grail watch that I would like, and it would be the Bulova Hoyer chronograph, the caliber 15, and it's got the sub dials.
Oh yeah.
Right, 10, 3, and 6. So it's a little bit offset. And I like those. They're running about $4 to $5 grand for a really, really good example on the correct bracelet. You can find them. They're available. I'm not ready. But exit watch to be done with, cap everything.
I don't know, man. That's
The
like,
original.
no way. That's like trying
Yep.
to put the pin back in a hand grenade, man. I don't believe you can do it.
The original of this. 1.6
Is that
million.
gonna be the exit watch? Okay, all right.
That would be the
Alright.
exit watch.
Okay.
Buy that, build a safe, put it in there. Now the problem with a watch like that, the problem with having that watch is, what do I wear every other day?
That
Right.
watch.
It wouldn't be that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So that's, that becomes part of the problem. It's like, if you achieve that unobtainium, what do you do with it? Where does it go?
Is that the segue into the Safe Queen thing?
It's and that's right. That's exactly what it is, because you put it, you're going to put that sucker safe, and you're going to get it out for special occasions when you bring your armed guards with you, because let's face it, a watch like that, I go walking down the street and somebody recognizes it, which, okay, granted, they're going to think that it's this and not what it really is, because it's been on the moon.
If you had a $1.6 million watch, would you actually wear it, or would you be too afraid to wear it?
That's right. That's the question. That is actually the question. What would you do with that? Because you'd have to liquidate your whole collection or to get that. So then, okay, so I'm stuck with the watch I got from the Happy Meal.
Kids, I don't have any yet, but I imagine they got to fetch something, right?
They're worth more for parts, though. Like, you got to part them out.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. But see, so your grail piece is an unobtainium piece.
Completely. I'm safe. I can look at pictures.
I don't know. That's an interesting approach, because for me, I think the only watch I ever looked at was like, this is what I want to earn and achieve. It was a Speedmaster, and then I screwed around with the whole Explorer thing, and I didn't think I was gonna get it. Like, I was just kind of just ass in the breeze, like, they probably won't call me. And then I got it, and I don't really know if the Rolex was ever really a grail for me, like the Speedmaster was. And then now, I'm on the hunt for that. I'm trying to sell that LHD, the Tudor Submariner, and I don't know if I look at the Submariner as a grail piece either.
No, but you're definitely on the hunt, and you're looking for that correct one, that right one, the one that speaks to you, because you've got so many different options. You've got different handsets, different time periods. If you could find one that was a Marine Nationale.
Oh yeah, but I guess like that's the thing, right? Like, all these other watches don't have the same meaning for me as the Speedmaster does, because I think of my dad and all the goals he had for himself and how hard he worked in his life. And that's what this watch means to me. Whereas everything else is kind of like, compared to that kind of story, you
Right.
know.
Right. It's a real interesting topic because
And I don't know if I can do what Mike does. If I know I can't get like the Richard Mille and all that other stuff, like I don't even look at them on Instagram. And I don't know if it's because they're that next level of unobtainium that I don't want to look at them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't
See,
follow that.
I've got no issue with it. I was at a meetup when I was showing off the Lunar Pilot, and there was a new guy there, a new collector, and he brought
Fucking new guy.
the heat, man. He had Langa, he had Jorn, he had
Oh, is this the guy
Dufour.
with all the plastic cases?
Yeah, and there's like they're all everything was trapped. He had a Konstantin Shankin. He had
Yeah, he had
Bronfeld.
the Joker. He had the Zeit work. He had
Oh my god, he had all this stuff.
Yeah.
He had two separate De Bethune pieces. I mean,
How many armed guards were present?
None.
Oh,
And it was also one of those things.
say.
He was so when you go to some of these meetups, like you got to be kind of careful because there's some people they don't want you to take pictures of their watches. This guy was cool. It was like, yeah, you can take pictures of them all you want. Like, great. But I didn't post anything until the day
he
after.
probably plonked down $100,000 worth of watches that night.
Oh, easily. And I'm willing to bet that wasn't the depth of his collection either.
I'm sure not.
Right. And we're also talking about it, at the same meetup, there's a guy there who is, I think he's number 4 in line to get one of the new Omega chiming.
Oh,
well, there's a guy that way overspent.
That's coming soon. And, he's talking about the box, and the box is, the size of a computer case. It's huge, and it's made like a violin and all this other stuff. It was like, there's gonna be some real interesting things that are coming out really soon. But even into that space, it's like, all right, all of that stuff is obtainable. I can look at that. I can enjoy it. I can appreciate it from an aesthetic standpoint, from a technical standpoint, from all of it. But I'm okay with knowing what I want in my collection and how I want my collection to work. That's not what I collect. It's good for you and it's great for you, but it's just not me. And when you finally decide that you're okay, I'm going to settle on 666 dialed watches. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm striving towards. I can enjoy everybody else. Like, Casey, you got some beautiful Rolexes. I don't need them. And
I think that's one of my favorite things about your guys' collecting style. I think if you ever wanted evidence of ADHD existing, you just have to go onto my account. And you're just like, this man can't settle on one thing. He is all over the map. And so I can appreciate you guys honing in on something.
It's interesting. It's really like I'm really happy for Mike that you got that whole Jetstar completion thing and you're done.
Oh shoot! Wait, how does that factor into your grail and your completing?
Well, they're not grail watches by any stretch. I mean, extremely attainable. Hard to track down in some instances, but extremely obtainable. Mm-hmm. It was more a quest than it was achieving a grail. And it until I started collecting them, I was never, of the completest mindset. But now that I've done it, it's satisfying. It's satisfying to be able to achieve that end goal of something. So it's hard to say how I would feel if I did obtain a grail, because I'm almost kind of lost now in a way, because I don't have anything to work towards.
Right.
I still buy stuff. I buy stuff that I like, and my collection, aside from the Jetstars, right, is early 70s era funky designs, bright colors, things like that. And I buy within, those specs, but there's no real goal to it. So it's if I were to obtain a grail, how would I feel about that? I don't really know. As you guys are talking, and as I'm thinking about it, when it comes to modern grails, the one brand that I always seem to gravitate towards, because they think way outside of the box, the pieces they produce are absolute works of art, is MB&F. And I mean, at unobtainium prices for some of these things, but they're phenomenal to look at. They're high horology at its finest, small company. If you've ever listened to Max Besser do an interview and the passion he has and what he puts into these watches, I mean, it's phenomenal. So I think, if I ever had the money, if somebody says, one watch, what are you going to buy? That it would probably lean towards MB&F.
Interesting. I could see that though. I can see that. We've talked about that before, and I know that's way up there on your list.
Yeah.
So there's some really interesting discussions to go with that. But why don't we segue this right into like safe queens? And so first, let's kind of define a safe queen if we can. Anybody?
So do you wear it on occasion, or does it constantly stay on display?
Or does it even stay in display? Because there's people
does it
who
ever
have
see the light of day?
deposit boxes. Yeah, they just keep watches in there.
And so, but the question too is like, okay, are we talking about a safe queen, or are we talking about an investment piece, or is it both?
They almost kind of seem to go hand in hand.
Kind of. I mean, so
because if you're buying on the level of a watch that you're putting in the safe because it's that valuable, it most likely is going to go up in value.
Maybe, but see, I've got a slightly different take on it, and let me illustrate that if I can. So I've got two safe queens. Two. Here they are. So the green,
okay.
Right. Green dial snorkel.
Yeah.
Which is as close to new old stock as I've ever seen.
Yep.
And then my great grandfather's white gold bull of a brigadier.
Yep.
They don't get a lot of time on the wrist. I'll wear them maybe once or twice a year, probably less. And part of it's because they got a really deep rotation, but the other part is like, okay, I just don't want to mess these ones up.
But you've worn green snorkel to work.
Yeah, I have.
And here's the thing. I don't even know where to start with this, because you're like, well, it's a watch. It needs to be worn. And if I'm not going to wear it, how am I going to enjoy it?
It does.
And
it's true.
Now you're telling me that's your safe queen.
It is. I don't wear it nearly as much. It does. It's not heavy in the rotation, hardly at all.
Yeah. I think that constitutes a safe queen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely.
I don't have any safe queens because I will wear anything. I bought that new old stock Seiko Gray Ghost, which I feel like had the same kind of effect that your snorkel had. Best condition I've ever seen it. Well, it didn't leave my hands in that best condition because I wore the hell out of it. So
yeah.
And I think that if you're not, and this isn't me trying to be negative towards people who save the condition of their watches. Like that's important because if you destroy that history, that's something you have to factor in. But I almost think it's up there. It's kind of just a little wasteful of the money. That in and of itself turns it into a luxury piece. Like
right. Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
And now it's just but then again, I've also got dumb knickknacks that sit around my office that like I don't use that I put money into, which is also stupid. But
so
no, I get it.
Let's look at it this way. All of us have watch boxes. All of our watch boxes have glass on top because the watches inside are meant to be displayed. Mm-hmm. Now, this is where my Just Star collection falls in. I have a watch box. It's a 10-slot watch box that I put aside because I knew there were 10 watches and that's what was going to get filled up. When all the slots got filled up, I knew I was done. I have other Jet Stars that I've bought as projects, which I wear without a problem. If I have the duplicate in the 10 box, the 10 slot watch box, right? Am I making sense? I won't wear that one, but I'll wear the project version of it because those were collected with a purpose. It's a complete collection. And in my eyes, it's meant to be on display. The entire set. Yeah, for sure.
Right.
And you know what? I'm going to retract my previous statement about it being a waste of money, because if the person set out with the intent to have that display, they have the money and the means to do it, then it wasn't a waste for them. Me personally,
There's a yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. It's like, what is your intent and what is it you
Yeah.
want to do with them? I get that. I get that.
but I would agree that those become safe queens if you're not going to use them, or you only take them out occasionally. It's like having a truck and it's a street princess. It's all Gucci'd out with all this off-road stuff, but you maybe take it off-road once in a while.
So I'll even take it a step further, right? I'll take them out, I'll wind them up because they should be wound every once in a while to keep things moving. I'll put them on, but I will only wear them in the house.
Which is cool. I can respect that.
In the safety of the home. Now, like I say, I have Project Jet Stars that I will wear and I'll wear to work. I'll wear out running errands, whatever. I have no problem because I know that they're eventually going to get fixed anyways. And if I knock it, scratch it, whatever, that's fine. I'm okay with
I've
that.
already got dings and scratches on this thing. Like I'm not getting my premium resale out of this.
No, but that's also going to be a more of an heirloom type of watch.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting thing. Like when you think for KC in particular, like you think about the Speedmaster in terms of your father. I've got watches that remind me of my dad as well. And I've had the Seiko that I remember him wearing. I've had refurbished. He's got a Viceroy Octavia that he has now decided to make it into a safe queen and is doing other things with it. He just bought like a Timex Indiglo, kind of like what Mike's got as his daily beater now. Mm-hmm. And so that he can, and he was talking to me about, watch winders and what should I do? This is like, well, you got to wear it every once in a while, Dad. And he's like, I'll give it to you. I'm like, okay.
But it's interesting though, because safe queens can be safe queens for different reasons. Because of the price, because of the condition, because of the history, because of the sentimentality behind it. I don't have those inherited pieces. My dad never wore a watch. My brother got me into watches, but he has his, I have mine. So I'm creating my own safe queens, I guess. Now, the one truly real safe queen that I have, aside from that 10-piece collection, is my gold oceanographer.
You don't touch that one hardly at all.
Is that the recent pickup?
No. This is the gold 666.
Same one that I'm sending to Mike.
Yeah,
he's got on a mesh band. It's really, really nice. It's a really nice watch.
Because that was it, like you say, the very, very rarely do these ever come up.
Yeah,
this is the only one I've ever seen in NOS condition.
Yeah,
it was a buy at all costs type of watch, and it's in too perfect of condition to wear. I am super afraid to wear it outside.
I do like that phrase there, the buy at all cost watch. We definitely all had.
Oh yeah, one. For sure. That was Joe's green snorkel.
It's the same thing.
This is Setomatic, right? Or
it's a Setomatic dual day.
I just found it. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. You have a lot of really nice gold pieces I like. And I'm thinking of that other NOS piece you have. I freaking love that one. The one that's got the cobblestone bracelet.
Yeah, that one came with the original box and papers, and that's another true NOS watch. I mean, so it's in a drawer right now, in the box, in a drawer. I'll pull it out, I'll wind it up, I'll look at it, wear it for 5 minutes while I'm sitting on the soft plush couch.
I totally get that, because if you ding it up, the next person will never see it the way you saw it.
And that's with it. Now, I say these are gold watches, but they're not solid gold watches. These are plated watches. So if you ding these or scratch these, you can't just send it out to have it polished. If you're going to make it perfect again, you have to send it out to have it completely refinished and replated again.
Yeah.
So for these two gold plated watches in NOS condition, I want to keep them that way, and they sit, they have their own spots, and I look at them, and I enjoy looking at these watches. I appreciate them for, the art pieces that they are. And there are watches that I have no problems wearing or beating up. These just serve a different purpose for me.
Yeah. It's an interesting discussion. It's an interesting topic, and it's one that I don't think that there's a really set answer, because it's so individualized.
Yeah.
What is your collection? What do you do with it? Do you have sort of the bandwidth to have a watch like that? And some people do and some people don't. Like, KC's got a collection that's all working watches. Every single one needs to sort of serve a purpose and serve a function. Mike, you and I, we have space for pieces that we don't get to wear that often, or pieces that are of a slightly different collectability nature. And that's without getting into the idea that these are investment pieces for you and I. It's not you buy it and you keep it in the box and it goes in the safe and you never touch it and you bring it out in 20 years. It's not that.
I think that's the only point where a safe queen can be a negative label. Yeah, I think it's pretty distasteful for you to grab that watch, throw it in the safe, because that's the only reason why you acquired the watch, so you can try to turn a buck. You know?
Yeah, that puts you into that ugly category of flipper rather than
shitbag corner.
Yeah.
But if it's a safe queen for the right reasons, I've got no problem with it.
Yeah.
But a grail, I think that term is thrown around pretty loosely.
I agree.
But I also think that I think the grail is something for an individual to determine. I don't think anyone else can tell you that you have a grail or you don't.
Yeah.
Because I feel like some kid who's like, you know what, I want to have the whole Jetstar collection. That's my grail. I think it's viable for an individual out there under certain circumstances to see that as a grail.
Yeah, it's all relative. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll take that.
So, do you want to move into snatching the grail from Omega?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So,
all right.
So let me see if I can tee this. Let me see if I can tee this up for you. So
I'm trying to save face. All right?
I get this. KC had this whole discussion about Omega's new hairspring and how mind-blowingly cool it was.
He was championing Omega to no end.
Very, very pro. And then you find out what'd you find out, KC?
Well, so I came out and I'm like, all right, look, there's literally no reason to buy a Rolex at this point other than you like the aesthetic. And I'm like, well,
I remember that statement.
Omega is now +2 to not a day, I think, which is pretty damn good. And that Rolex claims +2 -2 a day. And so Omega's got this, I gotta get the names right because these are some goofy names.
This is the backwards hat mainspring.
Yes, backwards hat.
Hairspring.
Which is,
hairspring.
Is officially called, oh shit.
This is where the 10 minutes of research have come into play.
Yeah, I think it's either Sprite. It's the Sprite one. Sprite. So it's the silicone, and the big deal, the hubbub behind it is with the metal hairspring, you can bend it, you can shorten it, and it'll stay and keep its form, which translates into the accuracy you're looking for. With silicone, not so much. You have to have multiple points of continued pressure to achieve the change within the length and whatnot you want to get your accuracy. So Omega's like, haha, we got 2 points. We grasp our silicone at 2 points, and now we can get this accuracy. Well, I find out that I think it was 2014 when Rolex released Siloxy, which is like the same effing thing. So the only difference is Rolex doesn't say that they rate their Siloxy at Omega's accuracy. But I'd imagine they could probably pull off Omega accuracy. So if anyone wants to say, technically on paper, Omega is still more accurate.
Well, and so let me ask you this question, because you did the 10-minute research and I didn't. Is the Rolex adjustable in the fine tuning manner that the Omega is, because the Omega has that little sprocket that's in the middle of the spring, and that's how they're achieving this pinpoint accuracy.
We got the adjustment
as far as the timing goes. So does Rolex have that same system, or are they it just the way that they're holding the spring the same?
So I don't necessarily see a different ratcheting from Rolex from the photos here. I'm sure I'm probably gonna get sniped in the comments section, but whatever.
No, because nobody comments on our stuff, so it's okay. You're safe.
Oh yeah,
it's a safe zone.
A safe space.
Yeah.
So I don't see that. So there might be a potential that still Omega has the more accurate product, but
because the silicone hairsprings is not a new technology. It's the way that they're fine tuning it, I think, is what
the adjustment, the adjustability of it makes a big difference.
Yeah,
but that's where the 2 points of contact really came in.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how they're adjusting. Rolex is adjusting theirs. The catch though with Rolex is these. So it's Siloxy for Rolex. It's only available in certain women's models, and the name is perfect. The name is up there with Lady G, and I can't make this crap up. I swear to God, it's called the Rolex Pearl Master.
Of course it is.
The Pearl Master. All right. Of course. Good job, guys. We'll sell this to the women.
So they only put these silicone hairsprings in ladies' watches?
For now, yep.
Size constraint, perhaps. That's an interesting take.
Yeah.
Well, so somebody had posited that it's because of the production that goes into it, that it's just too much of a hassle to try to offer it in their mainstream lineup. I don't know.
Makes it more limited because there's fewer ladies models, perhaps. That's interesting. That's an interesting take, because you think that if Rolex is going to be putting out something that is going to be touting that type of accuracy, you would imagine that they would try to mainstream it as quickly as possible. That's what Omega's done.
Rolex is, again, one of the most guarded freaking companies, and I would say it's one of the most valuable brands, period, out of any brand in the world. So they're very careful about what they say, what they release. So maybe they weren't super confident in what they produced. And Omega is like Leroy Jenkins and this and just sending it.
I see. I don't know. I don't think you can say that they're not confident in what they do, for the amount of research and development that they put in order to brand it the way that they have, to put out the information, to talk about the way they have. That you've got to be comfortable with it. You've got to be confident in it. You've got to be able to say.
Omega? No. Omega.
No, even Rolex.
Oh yes, Rolex. But Omega, boy, they are falling on their face left and right, and that's part of being Omega, i.e. Moon Swatch release. Oof.
Well, that was more Swatch than it was Omega.
Well, but they're all under the same corporate umbrella, right?
You say falling on their face, but that was, I maintain
they
that
hit the Leroy Jenkins
brilliant marketing plan ever.
Well, you know what? I was at a meetup, and we were talking about that specifically because there was a guy who
the marketing of the Moon Swatch.
It was. We're talking about the Moon Swatch, and there were a couple that were there. People had brought in a few, and there was a guy who he had a friend that was in Vegas and went to the Omega shop in Vegas and bought 4. And not only did he buy 4,
in one sitting
in Vegas, yeah. And like they said, you can only buy 1, but they sold him 4 because they had just gotten a bunch in. They weren't monitoring anything. There was no line. The guy bought 4, and then his mother went back and bought, I think, 2 more. And so they got this whole assortment, and the friend was like, yeah, whatever you can find, buy them, and I'll take whatever you don't want. Sold him 4 of them. So he's got 4 brand new in box of the Moon Swatches. And it's still so, and I will go to this one on my death, that anybody who owns a Speedmaster right now, the value of your watch just went up because of the Moon Swatch. Because somebody's going to get that. They're going to like Mike, right? You've held one, you've dealt with it, you wore it for a little while. it's okay, but it's a plastic watch. And if you decide that okay, I want to upgrade, I want to get a little more luxury in my process, I get into watches, I start understanding what movements are, understanding what this watch is, I'm going to step that up. And
I don't want to knock it on the desk and kill it immediately.
Right. And as soon as it dies, you're toast, because you're not going to be able to fix it. So you're gonna upgrade, and that's the next. It's this vertical integration that the Swatch Group has really gone into, and it's a fascinating thing. And anybody who owns a Speedmaster, your watch has just gotten more valuable within the next 10 years.
And it really truly did. It lowered the entry level price point to a watch that says Omega on the dial, but what was it 2 months ago that they announced that they've already sold 1 million units? That's 1 million people. Now, granted, some of these are already watch collectors and they bought them because they are collectors, but the rest of these people are new to the Omega brand.
Sure. Oh no, it's the most fantastic entry level thing that you could possibly do.
Not only did they create the biggest marketing plan ever in the history of any watch company, but they got people to pay them to market the watch. It's brilliant.
It was a massive move. Everybody wins on that. So
So to cycle back to the topic,
things have gotten bad when KC is reeling us back in.
Right.
All right. So have I overstepped with my original assessment? Are we going to say that, all right, by virtue of essentially Rolex already having this technology, is what Omega rolled out really that big of a deal?
For Omega, yes.
Yeah. For Omega, and for if there's a race in timekeeping, I think they've got the leg up for sure, because they have that additional adjustability. Assuming that Rolex doesn't have something similar,
right?
Omega
and
has
I think we can be a little safe on that, because Rolex has not advertised, even for the ladies' models, that accuracy that Omega does. So that might lend credence to that adjustability you're speaking to, Mike.
Maybe you can say that it's definitely a marketing ploy, but it's also looks like, okay, maybe you're trying to chase Rolex as well. I don't know.
Or do we see a potential lawsuit in the future?
No.
That's the ace right there. It's an ambush from the start. They're just sitting back and they're like, we're gonna take Omega out now with a $1 trillion lawsuit.
No, because they didn't copy their design, I'm sure.
Right.
It's going to be a different design. Rolex is not the first and only person to come up with a silicone hairspring.
Right.
Right. I think this moves Omega slightly in the direction of being a more technical brand. I will go out and say that.
I think they've really stepped it up in the last couple of years.
Yeah. I would honestly say that Omega is definitely the technically superior brand. I mean, yeah, I think Omega or Rolex is left the tool-ish watch stuff behind, and it's an aspirational luxury piece.
Who's to say? But I think that Omega has been innovating in a really interesting way, more so than Rolex has. But Omega also advertises in a different way than Rolex does.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's a big part of it too.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen.
All right. Last call.
Who's got anything?
Okay, let me go first this time.
Okay.
I always go last on last call. My last call involves you, Joe. Jazzy Joe.
Okay.
I
want to know what you think of the astronaut. You got hands-on with it.
I got hands-on with the astronaut. I got to see it. I got to deal with it. I got to absorb it.
Is this a case of don't meet your heroes, or?
Well, this was the problem, right? I brought my vintage astronaut, and I've got side-by-side comparison shots between the two. The new one is nice. The finishing is fantastic. It is a well put together watch. The size is okay. The bracelet is good. The bezel is weird. The guy who had it, who was doing a review, had it so the day night of the bezel is off center, right? If you get the 12 at the 12, so he had the 12 off, so that the day night was,
So it was even.
It was really funny. And so if you're OCD, it's not going to work for you.
That's not the bezel for you.
It is not the bezel for you, because it doesn't match up, and it's very similar to the Seiko GMT. Where everything's just a little bit. It's just south of even. It's got that same kind of thing going for it.
Same factory, probably.
It is a nice watch. It is a well put together watch. It is a well executed watch. I cannot fault the fit or finish of it. The dial works really, really well. The problem that I have is that I'm used to the vintage. I'm really used to the vintage. And so the 214 movement has the back set for the adjustment. There's no crown. The new one has a crown. The vintage versions all have patina on the loom. The new one does not. And like when you're looking at those watches, you're used to seeing them because they're 50, 60, 70-year-old watches at this point in time. You know, they're old watches. You need to be able to kind of absorb that, and to see when it's sort of looking brand new, it's a little bit off-putting.
Well, now let me play devil's advocate real quick on that, because part of the appeal of a reissue watch is to have the feeling of being able to buy it when new.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But I have a love for the vintage piece, and so seeing it as new, seeing it with the bright loom, seeing all the things that go with it, it takes me out of the watch just a little bit. It doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't sort of hit all the same boxes. It does not tickle my fancy in the same way. Not to say that it is not a well executed piece, not to say that I don't appreciate it for what it is, but to say that this is the next level of the astronaut, it doesn't hit me that way. It hits me not exactly as an homage, but it's close. And that's my take.
Okay. That works. I mean, I've got, no problem with anything that you're saying. I view it a little differently, but I haven't seen it in person, nor have I handled a vintage astronaut. So, I'm going to naturally see things a little different than you are. But yeah, I was curious to see, because again, you're a tough one to get to appreciate things. So I was curious.
It's nice. It's a nice piece. It's a nice watch, but it is not going to find a place in my collection.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I sit. Casey, you got a last
they
call?
Are all sold out now. By the way.
Are they?
I do not.
Yeah.
I do not have a last call.
Good for them. No last call. Like I got a last call. I want to talk about my Cerakote processes.
Yes.
The things that go with that. So Cerakote is a finishing that is done. It's a ceramic coating, and it goes onto the watch, and there's an application process, and it's heat involved. So what we had to do, and I'm talking with the guy, the place that I had to do this is local to me, and it's a gun retailer, and they offer this as a service, and it's a fantastic thing. But talking to the guy that was doing it, I'm like, could you do watches? And like, yeah, maybe, sure. Is it metal? Yeah. And so we had a conversation that went back and forth for a real long time. The questions that came up about the whole process was really about threading and whether or not it was going to mess with the threading. But if you can get the whole piece masked correctly, there was no problem in putting this back together. There was no problem with where it came across. I think it looks fantastic. I think it looks just more like the picture than anything else. And I am thrilled to death. I'm trying to think about what I could do next and what the other options would be. So
I was very skeptical about this coating.
Yes, you were.
And how it would hold up with watches. If you handed me this watch and you didn't tell me that it was Cerakoted, would I think that it's DLC coated?
No, you would not think that it's DLC coated. You would probably think that it's been painted.
Okay, interesting.
There's a real weird look to it because the way that the process has to go, you had to sandblast in order to get it to adhere. So this was supposed to be the gloss finish.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the sandblasting, it is very much a semi-gloss, not exactly matte. You can still get a little bit of reflection, but it wouldn't reflect to a lot of light at night. So it's a pretty decent process. I haven't been able to mar it. I haven't been able to really scratch it, but I also haven't really tried either. But
is it smooth? Is it a smooth finish or is it more orange peely?
It's in between. It's in between. It's relatively smooth. You can see a little bit of texture, particularly on the case back, but on the sides and everything else. And I think that has more to do with the way that the sandblasting went than anything else. So it was a neat process. There's a rifle supply in Huntington Beach. If you're interested, you can drop me a line and I'll be happy to get you the information. I don't know what they're going to charge because this was the first time that it had ever been done from them. And I'm not certain that you would get the same deal that I did, but we had a really good conversation about what the next steps could be and what some of the problems that they might encounter as they move forward. It's a worthwhile endeavor if it's something that you're interested in. Doing a bracelet would be a pain, I think, because they'd have to pull every individual link.
Yeah, screw that.
Right. I think you'd be better off finding a strap. I think that's kind of where you want to go.
What exactly is Cerakoting? Is it like a powder coating or is it dipped and then heated?
It's a little bit in between. It's ceramic base, and you got to bake it in order to get the ceramic to adhere and to melt a little bit. So it's not exact. It's in between powder coating and like DLC.
Huh.
Is it bioceramic?
No, it's not bioceramic.
Yeah.
And you got a lot of color options that are available as well. So it's kind of a fascinating little procedure. So I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it does look cool.
It looks really cool.
I'll give you that. It does look cool.
According to Bulova, I have voided the warranty.
You don't say.
I don't know that they'll take it back, but
unreasonable.
But I do have it on good authority that they think it looks really cool. So just saying.
Yeah. Cool. Nice. I won't be coating any of my stuff anytime soon, but
I don't know. I think like a couple of those Jet Stars. That'd be all right.
Vicariously through you.
Oh man, the all black Jet Star collection.
Right.
Oh, new grail.
I'm good.
New grail.
I'll pass.
All right. Well, how do they get in touch with us?
So Joe, Casey, myself, we all make up the Spring Bar Podcast. You can find us on Instagram at the Spring Bar Podcast. You can email us the springbarpodcast@gmail.com. On a personal level, I am 120 clicks, all spelled out, one long word, 120 clicks. Joe.
I am Watch Taylor Youth, WATCHTAYORUPH on Instagram, and you can reach me at all of those channels. KC.
Yeah, I'm time.hack1636. I'm not going to spell that out for you because I can't spell anyway.
DOT.
Yeah. Don't forget, affiliate links are found in the link tree of our Instagram bio. You can also find them on my personal page. I don't know if either of you guys have them there, but if you plan on making a purchase online through Bulova, Caravel, or Citizen, click the links, support the show. We greatly appreciate it.
Yes.
That was a great follow-up.
You're welcome.
Precisely.
Anything else, gentlemen?
That's all we got.
That's it. All right. Well, and then until next time that we reach out to the listeners to give us great topics because you're tired of bullshit we talk about. Cheers.
Cheers.